How can you be broke and rich at the very same time? That's the question for all Chelsea fans out there. But I know, all jokes aside, we're back for another episode of One Kick from Glory. I'm one of your hosts, Clive, and I'm joined as always by Matthew.
What's up?
Resident Chelsea fan.
Hey.
A man who is struggling right now with the pain of this financial restrictions that the club are going through. But it's okay, they'll survive.
Will we?
Well, they've been through worse days.
We have every day's new. Every day's a new day. Something comes up.
But it's a very, very exciting time in the league. We have witnessed the amazing resurgence of Newcastle United.
Mm-hmm.
They looked like they were down and out for the count. And ever since Eddie Howe came in, the signings they've made in January, they have just been going from strength to strength to strength to strength to strength. We did say in previous podcasts that with time, they were going to be an interesting outfit. Mm-hmm. And now they've positioned themselves as a team which next season we're all going to have to watch out for. I think we can say they're safe now, Matthew, can't we?
Absolutely. Like after they've had a really good run of wins. I mean, I know they lost on Sunday against us, but that was still a tough game to watch sometimes because they were getting joys down them flanks and channels and having those odd chances. Plus the odd penalty scare. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I'm more look at it. It
was a penalty.
It was a penalty, and it's just like, but they've had some good results against Brighton, Southampton. Who else had a good result against? They played someone else and a really good result. I can't remember who it was, but I think they're safe. They're on 31 points or something.
Yeah, I'm 31 points.
31 points. They're not far away from. They're 9 away from 40, which is now the Premier League kind of safety, like solid safety point.
I'm 32 actually.
32, or even better. So now I think they've done really well with their signings. They made a whole lot of sense from what we saw before Eddie and the money arrived. You'd never think we'd get this far, but it just goes to show that they have good players. And, you know, if you think about the ones that didn't even start, so Maximan didn't start for one, and they still held their own for what was basically 90 minutes up until a wonderful bit of skill from King Kai sees us through again. Thank you so much.
That's the way.
That's the way we do it sometimes.
And obviously right now Newcastle and Everton are playing as we are currently recording. So they are on 32 points because that game is underway. So that could extend to 34. It could stay on 31. So we'll see. Or 32.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
Newcastle winning that, to be honest.
But yeah, they're in a really good place. I think it's been very interesting the way how Eddie Howe has brought in the players he's got them playing really well. I think we've always said, you know, in one of our earlier episodes about his reputation as a manager and how he's had the inverse English tax, which a lot of coaches get, where the quality of his football that he played never afforded him the opportunity to get that bigger job. Mm-hmm. Even though some of the clubs he's managed have had a few rocky periods, you never felt like he was being given the opportunity to truly show that he was capable of managing at the highest level. Yeah. But hopefully with this project, the ownership stick with him, because I know the temptation could be in the summer to maybe try and throw some money at like a Pochettino who is likely to be fired by Paris Saint-Germain or someone else. But I think there could be something really good if they just see it out with Eddie Howe. Give him, let's give him 2 full seasons.
Yeah, definitely.
So, that'll be 2.5 years at Newcastle and just see what he can do. And if at the end of that time period you feel like he's not the manager to take you to that next level, then make the move. But I think he deserves that opportunity.
He's done so, and he was manager of the month for February as well. So, I mean, credit to him. I mean, there's no day. I don't think there's any danger. I can see him getting a good mid place. Maybe a 13th, really good place, mid play finish. Which, if he said at the start of the season, a lot of fans wouldn't have thought that likely. So, credit where credit is due. They've done really well.
Yeah, and looking at the rest of the bottom of the table. So for this episode, we're going to really look at, at the top and the bottom, because we feel like there's a very, very exciting race at the bottom to survive or to go down if you're Norwich, and a very exciting race at the top to win the league and, of course, make Europe, unless you're, they're playing well, so I won't slander them. Well. For once, I will not slander them this week.
They are playing well.
But they know who they are. They know what they are, and I'll get to them in a bit. But looking at everything, Norwich have been on a 5-game losing run, and they're on 17 points. They're rooted to the bottom of the league table. You look at it now and you think maybe that might be it. Mm-hmm. But we were saying the same about Burnley, and they're on 21 points, and they have 2 games in hand. The teams that are above them, you've got Watford in 18th, who have played all their games, and they're on 22. Mm-hmm. And they've got Everton, who are playing right now against Newcastle, who are on 23. They have 2 games in hand, after today's fixture. So you're looking at it, and Burnley have a chance of surviving. I mean, to be fair, I think all three teams could survive mathematically. The issue is you go by form. I think Burnley have had one of the worst runs. Norwich are in a terrible place, and Watford they flitter.
They're inconsistent because they won their last. Was it who they played? Who they played last time? I think they won.
Yeah, they won their last match
against Southampton.
Just gonna have a quick. Yeah, they beat them 2-1.
Yeah, really, really odd Watford because it's just. And who's their man? Who's managing?
And they got Roy.
They've got Roy.
They had Ranieri.
Yeah,
and they let him go for Roy. So yeah, it's an interesting. I mean, he is one of the best managers at being able to just get enough out of a team to survive. We saw that for years and years at Crystal Palace. He just managed to get enough out of them to keep them up. This is a similar challenge. I think the issue is that they got some big games coming up. They've got Liverpool next at the weekend, and then they've got No, they haven't got Liverpool the weekend. They got Liverpool on the 2nd of April, and then they've got Leeds Leeds at home on the 9th, and that is the 6-point
relegation
massive game. And they will be looking to get all three out of that. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do because it's not been easy.
No.
Like I said, they've been very inconsistent, and I think that they need to start picking up those points, or even just get some draws on the board. You know,
do you know who their last game was against? If it went down to the wire, you see who their last game was against?
Well, they end the season against Chelsea, and depending on what you do between now and then, we're going to get to the top of half the team at table and our teams. I'm just holding off on that for just a little bit.
Yeah.
It could be an interesting game because on the one hand, you could be fighting for. Again, just depends how fixtures go.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, rich but poor. You could be in a situation where you might be fighting for top 4.
Yeah.
As in, like, the 4th place spot. Because right now you're 3rd. You could also, and it's a long shot.
Big if.
But if Man City and Liverpool both collectively have a couple wobbles, very unlikely, but if they do, might be in for a long shot for the title.
It's got only 10 points. Only 10. It's 10 points, but it's 10 achievable. It's not daylight.
It's 10 achievable points, but it's contingent on them slipping up. And the issue with Man City and Liverpool at this point in the season is that they don't do that.
No,
at all.
City kind of did on Monday.
They'll give you the 1 or 2, but 10.
Nah,
they're not even 10. They'll probably give you at best 4 points. They might slip up. They might. I'd probably even cut it down to 2, but you might get 4 points out of them.
And you still want Liverpool to slip up, which is, again...
And Liverpool, they might give you 1, maybe 2. No, I think 4 points for both is the most they will drop in this period, if they drop any.
Yeah.
And that could be a combination of 4 draws. That could be one defeat and 1 draw. I don't see them doing... less than that.
Nah, I think they've played. I think they've played most of the big games now as well. Anyway, apart from Liverpool got Man United coming up soon.
Yeah. So I don't see that happening. But yeah, I think at the bottom, I think it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens. Of course, you know, you look at those teams. Leeds on 26 points. They've played their 29 games. You know, you look at the table and you probably feel like Newcastle, at 14th, they're not in a drag down. Brentford, they got 30 points. You could argue maybe they could get pulled into it, but I think maybe Brentford, Newcastle, Brentford's 2 wins back to back. Newcastle, that 3 win out of the 5 in the middle. The start with the draw, ended with a defeat. I think that is enough to get them that buffer that should keep them in good stead. But you know what? It just takes Watford and Burnley and Everton to go on. Up. If they win their 2 games in a row, it immediately starts to look a bit different. But I think. Would you say then, looking at the table right now, Burnley, Watford, Norwich, who's going to survive of the 3? I mean, I'm going to say you can only pick one because I'm going to just put it down to one of them has to survive.
I'm going to go. Hey, sorry, Craig, you're not here, but I have to say it. I think it could be Burnley
to survive.
I think if any one of those teams coming back up, I think it could be Burnley because they're Premier League regulars, they're experiencing it, but also. I think their teams are just a little bit more organised. Sean Dyche does the organisation really, really well. I know Dean Smith has got something better out of Norwich since he's been there, but I think it's almost like it's too little, too late. Watford, I think Roy's got there. Had Roy started them probably
beginning of the season,
or in October, like you said, getting the most out of players that he's got because they've got some half decent players there. They're not a terrible team,
I agree.
But they've had they've technically had 3 managers this year. That's going to disrupt any club. And I just think of all the clubs, Burnley, I seem to be the most rooted in their kind of style and just not they're not going to deviate from what they do, and eventually that can go well for you when in these kind of survival runs. They've been here many times before, and they know exactly what they're doing, and I'm sure they know that they're not out of it, because if you look at Everton playing right now, their form is absolutely rotten. Some serious rotten form, and with players in that they're a bit like
they're on a 4-game losing streak.
That is disgusting. They're a bit like what Newcastle were. A lot of really good players, but just no idea of what they're with, no clue of what's going on. You got misfits trying to prove a point in like Van der Beek and Ali and Dele Alli, plus the other professionals they have. They got the England #1 in there. The prospect of being relegated. And they got, is it Rondon? They've got Townsend. They've got
Calvert-Lewin, who's not
Calvert-Lewin
firing at all.
And that injury's really hit him hard. Is it
He's been awful this season.
Terrible. Lookman. They got Lookman. It's Lookman they've got, not Gray.
I know Lookman's at Leicester.
Or is it Gray's at Everton?
Gray's at Everton.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because they swap. I mean, they've got and Townsend. They've got Townsend and Premier League professional.
They've got players that they should be performing a lot higher than they are. I mean, they got a massive game. Oh, it's right now.
Yeah, right now.
It's a big game for them.
Big game.
I guess you take a step back and look at it and you think, when there's been the debates about the player managers, the great ones, Vieira, Gerrard, Lampard, I think we can settle the argument that Lampard is just not on their level.
It's not worked. It hasn't worked, unfortunately.
I don't think he's a good coach. I'm going to say it. Lampard's not a good coach there.
Not a good coach.
He isn't. Because
it's not going for him right now, no.
I just don't think he's a good coach.
Or do you think Everton's too big for him?
I don't think he's a good coach. I mean, because like at Chelsea, obviously the first season was a free hit and he got you guys in the Champions League, which was good. But then
the second
following season, it was just like
the wheels fell off.
When he was at Derby, had a good run.
Got to the final.
They really should have came up. They should have come up through the league. It shouldn't have even gone to the playoffs, really.
Yeah.
But they worked hard, got to the final, and then it just didn't quite, it just wasn't quite there. And I look at him at Everton, and it was like, we had the new coach bounce, the fluster, that enthusiasm. But since then, you look at it and think, man, they've just been awful.
They've not been great.
There's just a lack of quality in what they're doing. I think as it comes down to it, of the three of them, he's below them. I think you can argue whether Gerrard or Vieira, who's better. But Lampard is not in that discussion for me. It's Vieira, Gerrard, and then I'm not ordering them, just them two together. And then Frank's just on the side watching them because it's just he's just not close.
Poor Frank. It's one of those cases where good player, bad coach.
Yeah. Because I think he tried to do things different this time. He's got a new team around him, and I wonder if by doing that it was a mistake, and maybe he should have stuck with the Jody Morris and that backroom stuff he had at Chelsea and Derby. Yeah, because it didn't work at Chelsea. It doesn't mean that it won't work again. You have to take into account the environment, the expectations, and of course once you got Europe, the game plan changed, and so I don't think he adapted well to that. So I hope he can turn it around, but I do look at it, and as you're saying, if you said Burnley survive, if Burnley survive
out of those three,
then Everton. I mean, it's either Everton or Leeds could get dragged down. And Leeds, they got a big game coming up against Wolves tomorrow, as of recording. So that might be today as of release. But like big game on Friday, the 18th against Wolves, away from home. They did really well their last game to come back and get that win.
Who did Leeds play against? It wasn't Villa.
I watched the game as well.
No, they got beat by Villa.
Oh gosh.
It wasn't Brighton. No. Southampton?
It was against Norwich. They beat them 2-1.
2-1, yeah. Good game.
So they did really well. I like that. Yeah, that was a last minute. All the goals coming late in the game. 90th plus 4th. Joe Gerhard off the bench.
Damn.
Nice goal. Brilliant little scrappy goal. But you know what? That's the thing. They've now got Bamford back. Phillips is not far behind. So you think that hopefully they'll be able to go on a run. Because I think I want Leeds to stay up.
I want Leeds to stay up.
It's been a long time.
They're a good testament and they're a good advertisement to the Premier League in the sense of they're a big club. It's essential to like the English league and they're back in where they back supposedly where they are. They do belong. And it's a shame they weren't able to build on the great success they had last year. I think they were mid-table, even with some of the results that they had, and they properly took it to a lot of teams. The first game they had last season was against Liverpool, and for one moment you thought Leeds could have won. They lost, but they proper took it to them, and so you want a team, and they play good football. They play really chaotic football, but it's entertaining football, and I think for the fans, I think that's just so important. Where they obviously they want to survive, but the football is just that entertaining. Shame that Bielsa couldn't survive a second round, but it is what it is. So, do I think they'll stay up? By the skin of the teeth.
And we need to have another Northern powerhouse. Like, we can't just have it being, just our teams. Like, we need that team. We need that Leeds.
Or just Manchester's as well. Just Manchester.
Yeah, we can't just have Manchester and Liverpool being the big teams. We need the other team to be there with us. So
you know what we need for the promotion race for the Championship? We need another Yorkshire team to come up.
Yeah,
we need another Yorkshire team to come up.
We need one of the Sheffields.
Oh, come on. Can we get both? Steel Derby, I mean.
Oh, still. We were talking about that like a couple months ago. The Steel Derby in the Premier League. Or even the Championship, that would be a good starting point.
That would be fierce.
Come on, Sheffield, Wednesday. Sort it out, please. Sheffield United are doing the right thing. You need to sort yourself out.
Huddersfield doing the right thing.
Oh, Huddersfield. Imagine all four. Huddersfield and the Sheffields.
Make it happen.
Wow. So look, we want that to happen. Teams sort it out.
Please do.
At this point, we're going to switch from the bottom of the table right up to the top.
All right, listening.
Just thinking, top four. You know what? Let's start with the title race, because that's what the people listening are really all tuned in about. Liverpool, Manchester City. It's down to 1 point after they got their usual season gift at the Emirates. Nicely gift wrapped. We made them work for it a bit hard this time, but they got their usual gift from us. We gave them a nice little 3 points. Thank you very much. Premier League, Liverpool fans, you're welcome. Just do what you need to do in next time, because you didn't do us a favour when you had your games to get teams that we need you to beat. So if you can just return the favour, be greatly appreciated. When you play against... Who else have you guys got that? When you play Man United, that's what I'm saying. 3 points. When you play Spurs, 3 points.
3 points.
That's all I'm asking for. Everything else, do what you got to do. But yeah, it's heating up very nicely. It's down to 1 point. They're both level on games played. Mm-hmm. It's all going to come down to, how well they hold their nerve. And of course, they've got the massive game on the 10th of April at the Etihad. That is the game that's, you know what?
That's going to be the decider.
If we're going to be honest, that will settle it.
Yeah.
That will settle it, because usually it's done that for the last few seasons when they've had that big head-to-head clash. It's been the game that those two ties have been the ones that settled it. So I think this one, it's going to be crazy. Before that, they've got Burnley next City in the league on the 2nd of April. Then of course they've got the Liverpool game. So they've got got the FA Cup at the weekend against Southampton. So they've got a few games to kind of calibrate and figure things out. Liverpool have got Watford next on Saturday, Saturday 2nd of April after the international break. And then, of course, they've got the big one. So they've both got winnable games beforehand.
Against relegation teams.
Liverpool have plenty of time to rest. Oh, no, their next game is against Forest in the quarterfinals. So they're both chasing down the FA Cup as well. Forest in the quarterfinals. That could be very interesting. So, for you, looking at how it's all shaping up, what do you think is going to happen?
Fan of me wants me for this to go down to the wire, like it did last time when both of them were going down to the last game, and you were between on Sky Sports going here for a long time. Liverpool were ahead, then eventually City did it. To be brutally honest, I don't think it really matters who we pick, because they're both in the proper position. Like, it's only a point between them, and they still got to play each other. They're both in a position to actually go ahead and do it.
That's true.
It kind of comes down to who you want to.
So who do you want to win it? It's a hard one, because me personally,
you said Liverpool from the start.
I did actually.
You said Liverpool from the start.
I did.
Not City.
No, I just felt like, you know what it is. I looked at Liverpool last season, and Van Dijk was out. They didn't really buy any players of note. It felt like a consolidation year. Let's just we'll try. Not that we're not going to try and compete. We'll try and compete, but let's just it's a learning year. We were going to struggle a bit. And this year they've just come back. They brought in Konate. They brought in Diaz as well this January rather.
They're playing a lot of their youngers as
well. They're playing a lot of younger players. They seem to have got a better mix through the squad of like, you know, mixing up the young players that are hungry to play, the experienced players, and most importantly, they've got the right options. You know, Jota's like fully acclimatized and he's keeping Firmino out the side, although Firmino, you know, came off the bench and showed Jota, you know, who the boss is. So, which is what you want. Like, they just have the right kind of level of competition. You know, they've got Diaz now who can give Mane a rest, who can push Mane as well.
Yeah.
It also helps with the debate about Salah and his new contract and what they do. And that's a massive thing. But I think, they've done a good job of refreshing things for the, you know, to rebuild. Talking about Mo Salah, how do you see them playing it out? Because he wants a new deal. Mm-hmm. They've offered him a deal. I don't think he's accepting it because the numbers aren't quite right. How do you see that playing out?
How many years has he got in his contract?
I'm going to say a couple. Let's say he's got 2. It might be more.
Unless they're trying to go out and get someone else, despite the fact of what he's given them.
2023. So next season.
Yeah, next season. So I was about to say 2 years. So
that's a year.
Well, for
technically it's a year and a few months.
For someone who's given them the mad record numbers that he has and with the trophy return he has, I would say they'd be listen, don't end up like... I'm going to go to us for a little bit, but you get to see what I mean. We're now in a position now we can't negotiate certain players' contracts. We're already out with 3 big players and they just all happen to be defenders. We're probably in the process of negotiating them. Now we can't do it. All I'm going to say is if you're going to tie this man down, do it now. Don't dilly-dally. I know it's not usual for Chelsea to dilly-dally, but if you're going to do it for him. And you never know. You got a potential... I don't see him going anywhere else apart from like maybe in Italy or Barcelona, maybe in a couple of years' time. Because he's 20... He's 30 this year.
Yeah.
He's 30 this year. And he's still a very kind of consistent, level-headed player. And it's delivering. And I think he had a little renaissance sometime this year, scoring some crazy goals. And best still, you're pushing for a potential quadruple here because you've already got the Carabao Cup, you're still in the FA Cup, you're still in the Champions League, and you're firmly in the title race. You'd be foolish not to try and tie him down just for him to commit to that cause where you're the first team through really going under the radar a little bit who can pull this off. Because a lot of people thought it was going to be City. Didn't happen. Could Liverpool do it? I mean, it's not impossible. And if any team's going to do it with how they've galvanised and built over the years, it is Klopp's Liverpool.
I'll be honest with you. There's only two teams I could see him go. Like I could see him going to because you could argue there's three teams in the world where he could move to.
Yeah,
I don't count one because it'll be a joke, and that's Paris Saint-Germain.
No,
financially they could afford him. It would make no sense. For me, it's a straight shootout between Real Madrid.
I was going to say that.
And Manchester City.
Man City.
Those are the only 3 teams I can see him moving to.
Not Italy.
No, because he's done Italy. What's
Italy.
he going to do? Like, because let's look at it from like a prestige point of view, right? He's won the league, he's won the Champions League now, right? Wherever you go to next, his next move is legacy. It's about cementing a legacy in the football game.
Mm-hmm.
He did it at Rome. At Rome, he did amazing things. If he was going to go back to Italy, there's only one club you would. Well, I mean, there's other options. He could do Juventus. That would be the easy choice because of their historical prestige, and then to guide them back to the Champions League, amazing. So he could do that, but I think that's boring. So then you go, okay, what's the next option? He could go to Inter. That's a nice project. They're building something. Are they ready for that next step? They pushed Liverpool hard in the Champions League the other day. Maybe. Okay. Roma again. Mourinho again.
Mourinho.
That feels like a step back from Liverpool. So realistically, you got to think, okay, which teams are on the ascendancy? Now, Real Madrid, they're in the middle of a very smart rebuild, how they've integrated, young, promising stars with their, very experienced, slightly aged, but are playing like they're in their prime still. They're superstars that are there. So there would be a spot for him to join, and probably because players like Rodrigo, maybe he's like a couple of seasons away from being there. Vinicius has had an amazing season, but he's still inconsistent. And you could argue that this year might just be a pebble patch. I don't know. So having him there would be great. They've got Mbappe, potentially got Mbappe coming in the summer.
That's what I was to say about that as well.
Potentially Haaland to join. I mean, Haaland, Mbappe, Salah, and Pogba as a transfer window. Oh my god, that would just be
Pogba.
Filth.
That's disgusting.
Filth.
Get it.
So
I think
that's the move I could see him making. But ultimately, I do think that at the end of the day, he'll probably come to an agreement at Liverpool, because what you don't want to do is make those moves. And it's not to say that he'll be the same as Hazard, because I think he's just a different mentality. But Liverpool, they play to you. They play to your strengths.
They do.
What more do you need as a player? What more do you want?
And you're one of the men. You're one of the men.
Don't make the move for money. Don't make the move just because you can get something short term. Think longer term.
The mental legacy.
Yeah. So I wouldn't want to see that move.
You could be a Real Madrid player or Liverpool legend.
That's it.
Look at it like that.
And the reality situation is, going to Madrid, the focus is all going to be on Mbappe anyway. That's all it's going to be about. You're just going to be a bit part player.
What about Germany? Like Bayern?
Nah, because Bayern have already said that because of the pandemic, they are not able to stretch their wage structure. So because right now they have to have issues with Serge Gnabry, who wants his contract demands are outside of what they're prepared to pay. So they already have an issue of wage demands and stuff. So I don't see that move happening there, unless if they sold Gnabry and sold another star to make space for him. But then again, it's like, to go to Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich it's a weird one, because the question would be, is it the Champions League that you're going for, but you've already won that? Or do you want the Ballon d'Or? So that's the question. What is Salah's next ambition? If he wants the Ballon d'Or, Spain. Makes perfect sense. But to leave England to go to Germany, you're not going to get close to the Ballon d'Or. You're going to get further away because of how they did the coefficient, and obviously some of the bias voting. So that would be the only reason I see him going over there. But I still think he should stay, and probably will stay. So I think that's Liverpool covered. City.
Not to be rude, they're a fantastic team, but I just don't care. I don't. I really, if they won again, I'll be like, that's why I was secretly delighted that City didn't make the Carabao Cup final. At least it was someone different.
That was nice, actually. Yeah.
Guaranteed. I mean, I'm sad it wasn't us, but at least it wasn't them.
That's true.
I mean, no disrespect to them. Whether I think they're boring, they don't care. They're potential on the way to win another title. They're still in the Champions League and they're still in the FA Cup. They could do. The treble is on. Rob suit in the red halves, their neighbours. Throw it into salt into their wounds. The bubble's worn off now. The bubble's worn off. I mean, that's the one thing he hasn't got. I mean, after that, then not. Then what more can he prove? I mean, their players. I will respect their players wholeheartedly. Like, De Bruyne, Sterling, Mahrez, Bernardo Silva. I still don't know why Grealish is there. He's now just another player. He's a good player, but he's another player. He's done what Salah shouldn't do. He's like, he could have been at the Villa and absolutely established himself as a Villa legend, like key to the City kind of thing. Because, Villa, that historic... City might have the money and the cups, but Villa have got the heritage, the history. They've won the European Cup before. So they have that stock. You could be a part of that. Will he care? Probably not. It's probably the way.
He's just in the wrong club, Manchester. As much as Manchester United are a mess, him going there would have made more sense than what he's done so far, because it just would make more sense.
That's why you go there. But yeah, I mean, they got a bit of banana skin on Monday against Palace, so it shows that they're serious.
But they pushed hard, and it's a testament to Palace that it was only 0-0. Like, Palace had a chance to nick it at the end. A couple of little half chances there for Gallagher and the team on the break. Odson Edouard had a little opportunity where he could have probably done a bit better, but they pushed hard, and I think that just goes to show that in this league, anyone is beatable, and anyone you can give a game to anyone if you're on your game and you prepare well. And you have to remember, Vieira was part of the City group.
Yeah.
So he understands a lot about how they work, and he prepared the team really, really well.
Really well.
And again, when I talk about the whole managerial debate, just that preparation, how Crystal Palace have been since he's taken over, the football they play, the swagger they have.
Yeah.
Even when they lose. It's like they lose, but there's still some joy in their football.
They look good doing it.
Yeah. They lose with style.
I mean, a lot of people had them for relegation fodder, but credit to them.
They've shown that that's not the reality for them.
Talk about proving them. You potentially taken nearly maximum points from the Champions Elect. That's not something to be sniffed at. But yeah, what?
We'll move on from them. Let's move on to a team.
Sorry, City, but I just can't.
Let's move on to a team that's close to your heart. Let's talk about Chelsea. Let's talk about the post-Roman era. So there's been a lot of talk about people trying to buy them. There's a Saudi media investment group,
super consortium,
which is not linked to the government in any way, shape, or form. Of course. But, there's no links. There's no connections. But if they do take over and Chelsea do a preseason tour in Saudi Arabia, it's just a coincidence. But on a serious note, because right now things are really difficult. And the big question is, the first thing to really get into is, will he even sell the club as it is right now? Because the reason why I say that, whatever happens, he gets no money. The money goes to the British government. To do what with, I don't know, but they're going to hold on to it. So what does Roman really do? Does he bide his time and hopefully Putin decides to wake up and change his mind and stops this crazy war? Or does he just cut his losses and leave? Because then the other issue is, then are there other assets he might have that end up getting seized as well?
He has other assets that he can move. Unfortunately, Chelsea isn't one of them. That's not the sad thing, but that's the frustrating thing or the concerning thing is because future's not in our hands. We are not in anywhere control. We're relying on people to make that big decision. Do we look like doing it? No. And this is what I'm gonna get into something that I've been saying many, many times. It's just like I get that banter is banter. I get that people have no love towards against us. I've been used to that for many, many years. I've also known that my own is dodgy. Tell me something new. It's all well and good. If you're going to go after anyone, go for him. But I'll go back to, do you remember what happened with Bury a few years ago? How the Bury were one of the founders of the English football, of the Football League, way back in the Victorian times. A few years ago, they went into liquidation. There was no flurry. There was no, by the time we found out they were going under, it was too late. Okay, so just go to show that a club with the historical value that they have, granted they weren't doing it nowadays, that it can happen it can happen. I mean, I think it happened to Liverpool in the past. I think it happened to Man United in the past. Hell, it's happened to Chelsea in the past, where at one point we were on the brink of non-existence. I'm not going to be, whether I'm being dramatic this time, I don't know. But if the money's not flowing in, what's going to happen? It's a dangerous thing as a football fan, this should be something should make you scratch your head just a little bit thinking, if it's happening to big time Chelsea, what's stopping it happening to anybody else? Roman, he's the owner. They come and go. We move on. If you're going to get anyone, get him. My main concern is when it comes to the club, it's not. Never mind just the players. You're talking about the people that have zero affiliation to what this conflict, this horrible war is all about. You got people there just who have jobs, regular people, 9 to 5s, those kind of busting on the train to Fulham Broadway coming in for work. So they're the ones you feel sorry for, as well as the club. So we need this solved sooner rather than later, purely for the club to just have a more stable future, really. Because, like you said, we've got all this money that it's like we've been grounded and held to ransom. We can't even blooming use it. It's a hard situation to be in, really. I
mean, at the end of the day, the government had to do what it had to do because,
I get that.
The relationship between there's a lot of question marks over Roman, and I think what's been really interesting this week is that BBC announced that they found evidence of him being involved in a dodgy deal back in the day, and it's just like, why has this only come out now?
I mean,
why is half this story is about Roman? Why is it only now that he's been sanctioned that we're hearing things?
But if you go to many other owners, you're going to find something. I'm not chugging the finger of him. I know we've seen in the past about the dealings that he has done. Did it take a war to really push the button? Was that nail on the coffin? I don't know. But I'm saying is, if you dig deep in many billionaires,
but you know what? It begs the question. Right? They have a fit and proper persons test, which prior to this whole incident did not include human rights. Which explains Newcastle's takeover. But anyway, jokes aside. But how has these things not been flagged up before? How have they not looked into his background, Alisher Usmanov's background? They're the main two I can think of. Other owners. How have they not really looked into some of these owners' backgrounds and said, okay, there's something not quite right here? Even Man City's Abu Dhabi group, how have they really not looked into their background to see, is their money
legit?
Is what's going on in that kingdom
cl-
right? Because how have they not looked into it before, and why is it now? I think there's just a lot of things that's happened this past year. A lot of precedents have been set, which really go to show what people really care about. News came out today, it's slightly unrelated, but Kurt Zuma is being prosecuted by RSPCA, put for a case against him. Okay, great. Right. This is going off topic, but I think it needs to be said. That case came out. There was also a news story that was released this past week about a schoolgirl called, they've named her Q. Schoolgirl Q, right?
Yeah.
Black schoolgirl, was 15 years old. She was on her period when she was strip searched by police at her school because she allegedly smelled like weed, according to her teachers. Right now, the outrage that has been, seen online to what's going on in Ukraine, rightfully so. People are outraged. What happened with Kurt Zuma and the cat? People were outraged beyond belief. And the relative silence for this poor schoolgirl and what she went to in comparison, to me, it's an absolute farce. I think it's just unfair that people are picking and choosing what things they really care about and want to speak out about. If you're going to have that energy for Kurt Zuma, you should have the same energy for the school.
Yeah.
If you're going to have this energy about what's going on in Ukraine, have the same energy for all the other conflicts that are happening around the world. You can't just pick and choose the ones you want to decide, okay, this is the cause I want to speak against. This is the cause I want to speak against. All the time you hear this, but what about the whataboutery that you see is always used in certain cases and not others, right? The schoolgirl thing immediately. But why are we bringing race into it? Because the report said that if she wasn't a black girl, they would not have treated her that way.
But
they did.
Why did strip her?
And then it was unsupervised. So there wasn't even a teacher that a supervised person from the school there. It was just the police officers. Now they are female officers, but that's besides the point. You do not do that to a child. Right,
unbelievable.
They should be getting charged for that.
Unbelievable,
because that's assault, and it's a minor. Like it's unacceptable.
How's she gonna feel?
But because of the perceived smell of weed, really, the herb. All of that for the herb. Some idiots used to buy oregano back in the day and smoke that. I thought that was weed. For the herb.
Makes you wonder, what was that? What if that was like a pair of scissors? Makes you wonder.
Like, and at the end of the day, look,
unbelievable.
I think this year has just going to show, after the Sarah Everard murder by by Wayne Couzens, that awful, disgusting police officer, there needs to be open transparency about the problems in the force and how things can be made better. But going back to football, in this whole situation, there needs to be a more nuanced outlook on things. And I do agree that they needed to put sanctions in place. They needed to do something to try and show, that we're helping and we're not going to just allow, because people can argue that maybe Putin has got money run through Rome and whatever. Okay, that pipeline of cash has been cut off now. But when and I said it at the time with the Kurt Zuma cat situation, the next scandal that happens, God forbid, this England game's coming up, a footballer gets racially abused. God forbid. If there is not the same energy, I don't want to hear Nish. I'm over it.
Where they're playing England, right?
Yeah, but
make a difference,
even if it's England fans, the next instant of racism or abuse, I'm sorry, I do not want to hear any of these. It's just words. It's just that, because society has shown that people care about the things they care about, and the things they don't care about, they don't apply the same energy. And it's just weird. The cat should not have been abused, but it's been dealt with. Yeah. But we're going beyond now. We're going beyond.
Back again. We're going back to it again.
So they take it to court. They find him guilty. What's the punishment that's acceptable? Would a fine then be enough? Does he have to go to prison?
Community service or anything like that? Yeah.
Would prison be enough? If it's 6 months, is that enough? Does it have to be a year? At what point do you draw a line and say, okay, this is now just disproportionate? Yeah. And it is disproportionate. And people say the same thing when people talk about, when they bring up things about race and they bring up, things about discrimination. They say, oh, you're making a fuss about something. It's not a big a deal. It's just worse. It's just this. It's just that. But it's not. This is people's lives.
Yeah. You were there for the cat. You were there for the cat.
Keep that same energy.
That's what Thingy said. That's what Antonio said.
Keep the same energy.
And so they say that, where if you're going to do that, do it for that. If you're one of those ones that has a cause, that you've got to have the same energy for every single one.
Top four.
Yes.
Top four race. Arsenal, United, West Ham, and them other folks. Also referred to as the Hotspurs. We could probably chuck Wolves in there because they are 5 points off Arsenal. They've played all their games though. But let's put Wolves in there.
A wild card.
As a wild card. But it's between the rest of us. Who do you think's going to get the fourth spot?
Not United.
Well,
not United straight off the bat. They are just
trash.
Awful. Absolutely trash.
Manchester United are like Kim Kardashian's hot takes. They were never good. They will never be good.
Just stop it.
Just stop.
I mean, yes, they got that little bounce, that little...
Although Man United were good once upon a time. That's a bad analogy. You guys were good once
upon a time. They were good, but just not now when, the whole Ronaldo thing, I said from the start, it's not going to work. It's not going to get you where you think it's going to get you because you've still got other problems in the team. You've just put a very fancy, expensive plaster on a leaking nuclear missile. And it's like that plaster now is barely holding on as it is. That Spurs game where he got that hat-trick was just finding that little bit of stickiness. But then Atletico, the peels come off just a little bit more.
Do you know what they should do? They should do a swap deal. Keylor Navas for Ronaldo. I was going to say one of their midfielders, but I don't really see a lot of quality there. But I think Keylor Navas...
Well, Pogba's already going anyway.
Keylor Navas and Kimpembe for Ronaldo. Kimpembe is not the best.
No.
He's very erratic, but I think he'll fit Man United really well. I think those two. You get a top quality goalkeeper and an okay defender.
I need something. You got in the season somehow I think it's yours now to lose. It's your
I feel that way too.
It's your fourth now to lose. The experiment with Laka and Eddie clearly is working because so far, because you got goals coming from other parts of the team anyway, so you're not necessarily reliant on them. And like you said, losing out on them isn't necessarily a worst thing because their contracts are up.
I'll be honest with you. Watching the game yesterday, Liverpool Arsenal, you could see what difference a top striker would bring to our team. Lacazette. He works hard and he once had his skin fade of 2 seasons ago was elite. That was just elite, man. It inspired me to keep the beard growth going. But it was great. But you look at him now and you can just see that the lack of... For me, it's not just the lack of physical pace or stamina. Because those two things annoy me a lot. It's his positioning on the ball. He's always too deep. He's always coming too deep. He drops off too much. And so you don't have that focal point to hit. And his hold-up play is not that great either. And the issue is when he drops deep and he's linking out play, he's literally standing next to Odegaard, who's playing in the midfield 3. And then we spring forward, he ain't catching up. Martinelli will have it on the wing. He'll look inside. There's no one to. I'm crossing it to.
There's no one there.
I'm crossing it to Van Dijk. And he tries to pass it inside. That pass lane's cut off because Lacazette is just getting there. So that's my thing. I think he's done a great job for us this season since he's come in. Mm-hmm. He's done an okay job for him. Like he's playing well for him. But if we're talking about a number 9, if we're looking across like what the other teams have and looking at what we need to go to the next level, he's not there. He's not that. And so I would not mind if we let him go in the summer because I think to keep him on for another year, even though he's good for the younger players, to me it just feels like the money that we could invest in someone else, I don't think it'll be the best investment. Unless we say to him, we'll keep you till January and we'll sell you because like we want to give the new players that 3 months to bed in. Mm-hmm. That I could probably get behind. As in Lacazette's rotating in and out and we have a deal lined up for him. He knows where he's going to go. It's going to be a nominal fee and we sell him on that way. That we could work with. Otherwise, I would not renew at all. I think we should move on and we should be aiming higher.
I think he wants to. I think it looks like he wants. I think like he's still got time in him. I just think his time at Arsenal is coming.
Yeah.
I think he probably feels that it's coming and he's just like a last hurrah, go out with a flash. I'm going to leave you behind with top 4 sort of thing. But yeah, it's most definitely now yours to lose. How many points West Ham behind you?
West Ham are on 48 points with all games played. Do you think... Okay, so looking at the rest of them. So you got City, United... City, it would be great for City that was in 5th, but United, West Ham and Spurs. So United's on 50 with 29 games played. West Ham 48 with 29 games played. Tottenham Hotspur 48 with 28 games played. How would you position them 5, 6, and 7? If we're saying Arsenal have 4, right? How are we putting 5, 6, and 7 of those 3? Who gets 5th for Europa?
I'm gonna say so. It's United,
United, West Ham, and Spurs.
I think West Ham will get 5th. It kind of depends on because they're playing the Europa League right now. Because depending on how they do in that, because I know they'll go behind, they might come back and just try for that final solid push for the final spot. I think it could push it close with you guys. I think they'll get the closest to you.
Spurs are in a good run of form.
Spurs are in a good run,
but it is their Spurs though. That's the thing.
They've got that horrible knack of just not doing the job.
Yeah, they're so
for every loss again, for every win against Brighton, there's a loss against Man United. It's very pivotal there. I think it's gonna be United 5th and Spurs 6th. It's gonna be close though. It's gonna be real close. I just think Spurs are just not saying they've got a game. They've got a game in hand. They've got a game in hand, and you've already played. Has the North London Derby been done twice?
No, we haven't done this. So that it hasn't even been scheduled yet.
Oh, neither is us. Neither is Chelsea.
Yeah,
Arsenal,
and I think our game has been scheduled actually. Our game has been scheduled. We are playing each other on the 20th of April.
Okay.
At the bridge, so that's been scheduled.
Yeah,
the Arsenal Spurs is not, and knowing them,
they'll set them up.
They might they could sandwich it. Oh, that would be so cruel. So they could either have it after the Man United Arsenal game on the 23rd of April, or they could put it after the Leeds. So it could either go in between that gap, or it will happen in May, in between after Leeds. So it'll be Arsenal, Leeds, Arsenal, Tottenham, and Newcastle, Arsenal last game of the season. That's when they could do it. But it's going to get squeezed in at a very awkward time because of the weeks we've got left. So it's not going to be ideal, but we'll take them in it. Wherever we play them, I know what time it is.
Bring it on.
So, yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it all wraps up, and hopefully, I'm really impressed with how Arteta has implemented his way of playing. There's still, you can just tell right now. It's just there's little tweaks now to go to get us to that next level. We need a proper striker, and maybe just some additional options in midfield so we can rotate around and stuff, and a player to upgrade on what Xhaka's doing, who's really adapted well to his new role, playing a bit more attacking like he does at Switzerland. So it's not really a new role, think of it that way, but it's using a different skill set that he has. Partey's, he's doing great as a base six.
Scored the other day as well.
Scored the other day, so he's stepping up. Martinelli just needs to keep refining what he's doing because he's very exciting on the ball. He's a bit more refinement. Saka just needs to, just keep letting the thing fly. But I like what I'm seeing across the team. But there's little tweaks to go. Would it be a stretch if Arsenal make top 4, considering how we started the season?
Yeah.
Would it be a stretch to put Arteta manager of the year? And I say that because, outside of that, Jurgen could get it at Liverpool, but I don't know if I'd say that's that great of an achievement to beat City to the league. I don't know if I'd say that's...
I was going to say if he won the league, that might be a little bit different.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Liverpool win the league, would Jurgen then be better?
You can't give it to Howe because he hasn't been there long enough.
Yeah, but keeping Newcastle up from where they were, I feel like that in and of itself, he should be in the list.
Why not? You know what? You know who I'll give it to as a wild card, if not Arteta? Depending on where they finish, I'll probably give it to Vieira.
For Palace.
Yeah.
They're 11th right now.
But considering where people thought they were going to be,
it's true.
I think if you had a 5 shortlist, you'd probably say Vieira, Howe, throw Klopp in there, why not? I'm not giving
Klopp. So it would be Vieira, Howe, Klopp, definitely Pep because despite default he'll be in there.
Arteta could be a wild card.
Arteta.
Considering how you started.
And if I'm going to add 3 more, I would have Bruno Lage.
Yeah, that's a good
one. Wolves. David Moyes of West Ham. And...
Right, Harson's...
And possibly Gerrard at Villa.
When did he start?
But no, he didn't start in the beginning. He started midway through, didn't he?
Midway. That's the thing about...
And now they're 9th. So that'll be my 8-name shortlist. Because I think where they are and where they could end up, and they've got a game in hand, so they could, if they... it looks like they could get 8th as their highest possible finish because of the other teams ahead of them in the
Still
point gap,
that's an improvement,
which is massive.
without Grealish.
But even ninth, if they end up ninth and it's a solid ninth and there's a good gap between them and Southampton, I think that could be a good shout.
Both seasons in the league, they finished 17th in the first season. They were 11th last season. They finished in the top half. There's nothing really stopping them. There's nothing stopping them from a push for the conference.
Yeah, because they were in the bottom three at one point, weren't they?
They were in the bottom three.
Yeah, so I think that's a shout he could definitely get. But we'll see what they do.
Very interesting.
Gonna see how the weekend goes and how the results go.
FA Cup weekend.
FA Cup weekend, so we all can have a break from. Actually, no, Arsenal are playing on Saturday.
Well,
because
playing?
we have a game against Aston Villa. At Villa. 12:30 kickoff.
Dang.
Which is a very stupid time to have it. But thanks, Premier League. Thank you, guys. Greatly appreciated.
Tasty one.
But we'll call it a day there and we'll see how we go. West Ham are currently winning 1-0 against Sevilla. So they are turning it around, as you said, Matthew. So hopefully that continues.
About Newcastle.
I'll just have a quick look at them and see what's going on with them. It's 0-0 halftime. So, yeah, Everton doing what they do best. Just nothing. But thanks for listening, everyone. We will be back for another one again very, very soon. We hope you all have a good rest of the day. And what do you think about the season so far? My parting question is, do you think Marcus Rashford should leave Man United to continue his career? Or do you feel like the boys should stay there? And do you just not care at all?
Yes.
Have a great rest of the day. Take care and see you all next time.
Safe.